Hey, this is Naked at Night with Cassidy, JD, Lance, Rick, Scott, and Mark. So we've been doing this thing for like 8 years. And we keep saying we need to bring in outside models so you don't have to look at my old man body every week. And we did. We brought in an outside model last week, and our ratings went up 1,000%.
You're not supposed to tell them that, Rick.
Why not? I mean, we went from.
We don't want to shame them.
All right. Well, anyway, we got a lot more viewers. And because, well, tonight we have Cassidy. Cassidy is our model. She's also a singer and guitarist, and we may get a song out of her at some point. All right. So a viewer wrote in, and we're too disorganized to tell you the viewer's name, but
Look at me there.
He says he wants us to talk about how to get a girlfriend. And Lance and I are old. And, well, JD's not young either. And among us, we think we've learned some stuff. Awesome, JD. But Cassidy will tell us if we're full of shit. So let's just start off. This is where you're going to swing the camera around. So Lance and I, this is a painting of me as I looked 8 years ago when we started this show. And we're going to show a picture of Lance as a young man. And we were hot pieces of ass for guys, which that does not freaking matter very much at all if you're a weirdo. And Lance and I are kind of weird. And it wrecked our, not wrecked, but it made us, it was, the weirdness was a huge handicap in us getting girlfriends. And I haven't even tried in the past 40 years because I've been married for 35 years. And there's hot young Lance. Can you see hot young? This is,
yeah.
All right. Doesn't matter though. We were hot. We had abs, pecs, the whole bit. That doesn't really matter, especially now that 70% of Americans are overweight. The norm is no abs. Anyway, what does matter? What I've learned from, not from myself, but from a buddy who was really good at hooking up. 3 things, and then you can tell me if it's bullshit. 1, you have to cast a wide net. You have to talk to women. A lot of women, because most women are going to, it's not the right time for them. And, and you're going to be unsuccessful 99% of the time. Also, your neediness shouldn't show. Your objective shouldn't be to hook up with somebody immediately, unless you're at a rave and everybody is on ecstasy, I guess. So thing 1 is, be out there talking to people. Thing 2 is, a thing my buddy had was he would look at, I mean, not everybody is frickin' Charlize Theron, but he would look at everybody as if they were. He would get very excited about everybody, which is nice. That when you look at a person with authentic desire, and the person isn't familiar with that necessarily, that's very attractive. And then thing 3 is, don't make it weird. My friend was very good at convincing women that whatever happened between them, he wouldn't make it weird. It wouldn't be gross or stalkery, or it would be whatever they wanted, and not what he wanted. He put them in charge. And one last thing, and then I'll let everybody else talk, is the sex you don't be going for sex. The sex you don't have is better than the sex you do have. I don't remember any good sex I've ever had. I remember the almost sex. The lady I was about to get with, I was wearing just a towel, and we were about to, and once the towel came off, it was on. And then she smiled and she had terrible teeth, green and black, like she'd never brushed. And I backed away because that just freaked me out. And I have recast that in my mind with a lady who had decent teeth 1,000 times since that happened. All right. Anybody
Look at
else?
me with your eyes.
Lance.
Whenever you look at me with your
Lance
eyes.
is directing Cassidy because he's sketching Cassidy as the show proceeds.
Wait, do JD. He's the master.
All right, JD. Like Lance and I aren't super charming. JD is very charming.
Let him talk for himself.
All right, JD. No, I've said all my points. All right, one more point. Then somebody else besides me has to say stuff. That
All right,
the
Cassidy,
rules
do you
are.
want to join us?
Is anything I said super stupid?
I will yield the floor to Cassidy.
I mean,
All right.
you take this one away.
I'll take it. All right. So, okay, rule number one. Rule number one is that women care about looks and money. So, if you don't, so if you have money, make it clear that you have money. Let them know that you have money. Buy a fancy car, wear expensive clothes. Don't keep that a secret. But the guys with the money already know that. So for the guys that don't have money, do the best with your looks that you can. So there is no excuse for not working out. You need to work out an hour a day minimum if you want to have a girlfriend. And the way I see it, the more you work out, the better your chances are. Do not have bizarre hygiene. Hygiene is really important. Now, a lot of guys don't know this, but women have a better sense of smell than men do. So when you approach the woman or the woman approaches you, you need to smell good. Brush your teeth after every meal. Bathe or shower every day. Also,
Hold on, one thing.
No, you're already interrupting me. Shut up, Rick. He interrupts me in every show. I thought that would stop when we got away from politics, but it hasn't stopped. Now I'm just about to tell people the secrets that will change their lives, and you interrupt me.
Let me just
Now
say,
no one will ever say. He's persistent.
Let me just say, if you're losing your hair, don't shampoo your head every day because your hair will stay in better the less you wash your hair.
Okay, listen, Rick, that is that's a hair show. We can do a hair show if you want. It can just be about hair if you want. That's fine. But now they're going to forget all my other points.
Good hygiene was your last point.
All right, good hygiene is very important, especially when you're in the relationship because people get lazy. And good hygiene can break or make a relationship. All right. Now, do not have bizarre hair. Look in magazines at what attractive models are doing to their hair, and you do that too. Same with clothes. Women care more about style than men do. And if your hair and clothing is peculiar, you need to stop that shit. Because that can end it for you right off the bat. So the only way you can figure, if you are a nerd, and if you're listening to us, you are, then you don't know what to do with your hair or your clothing. So look in magazines at your type of person and see what they're wearing and what they're doing with their hair. Now, shall I go on or do you want to jump in, Jake? All right. Okay. It's good if you're funny, but don't try to be funny unless you are funny. Okay. So there's nothing worse than the guy that is desperately trying to be funny. Don't drink. Don't go up to a woman when you're a little bit high or stoned because you won't be at your best. Bad situation. Now, Rick covered a very important subject, and that is go out and meet people. Now, that's easier said than done. So, to be more specific, you have to have a rule, and that is you're going to ask a girl out once a week, somewhere, somehow. And that means you will go wherever there are people. There's the days of sitting at home alone are over. You have to go out. You have to leave the house and go, firstly, somewhere you enjoy. All right, because you want to meet a girl that likes the things you like. But if that's not working, be brave and go someplace you don't enjoy, so long as you know there are going to be females there. And I think that's enough for now.
All right,
I do have some things to say now.
Okay.
Well,
look at me with your eyes, though.
Okay.
Go
So,
ahead.
okay, we good?
All right.
Well, what both of you guys said, there was definitely some things where I was like, that is kind of true. And I want to challenge. There are women, I feel like, love soul, and they love heart, and they love to feel special. And I really feel like most women, it's funny because you think that like most women are about money or something, but if you can make a woman laugh, or if you can make her feel a specific way, she does not even really give a shit. Women are looking for a man's desire a lot of the time.
But you have to get over, you can't be entirely hideous at first, but you have to give yourself a chance.
I will give you that. You do have to take care of yourself. You have to take, I liked some of the points of like working out, making an effort towards yourself, making an effort in your personality, making an effort. But also, I feel like women also really appreciate like a man who's very uninhibited and very authentically him, and a man that fully knows himself and knows his mission and knows what he wants and goes after it. They also like men who aren't afraid of fully pursuing and going after what they want. And they like a little bit of danger too. Women love to be taken out of their roles in society. They want like most women I know like a little edge.
There are also regional variations. We're in LA where, money is kind of a big deal. But if you're like in Oklahoma or New Mexico or West Virginia, you might not be a millionaire. And so you might substitute having a good job might be the equivalent of having money in other parts of the country. Also, what you wear, also how your hair looks would be different in Texas than in New York City, say. That the floppy curls down your forehead might play better in New York than in San Antonio.
Yeah, I would say that you have to pick like some things that are like if you don't have the money, you better pick like really being humorous. But if you have the humor, then you can forego a little bit of cash. I think there's like picking your battles is what to know as a man.
Wait, there's another one. And that is that don't worry so much about your looks if you're a man for this reason. There's always going to be some woman out there. If you meet 200 women, one of them will find you attractive, because women's tastes can vary a lot. And so even an ugly guy can get a girl if he has the right key for her lock, so to speak.
Yeah. Also, we haven't talked about Gen Z and the changing landscape and things like Tinder, which we did not have and don't use at this point. And you got to know how to use, social media hookup apps. And also Gen Z statistically is less horny than previous generations because Gen Z is often all on their devices. Gen Z talks less, is less verbal than previous generations. There are more Gen Z virgins than in previous generations. And a lot of people, for various reasons, including despairing about the world and also being super distracted, are finding also not having enough money to couple up. Because Gen Z is one of the, boomers, by not dying and letting other people have their money, have impoverished subsequent generations. So a lot of people in Gen Z kind of have given up on coupling up, which is bad because there are less people interested in coupling up, but also good because you have less competition. Thoughts?
JD, are you working with us or do you want to sit this out?
No, you got comments on, like, JD? I've heard you talk to people, and you're always very interested in people, which, I'm a little bit on the spectrum, and I find people a little bit of a pain in the ass. You love people, and you're always willing to find out all about them.
Well, I think that everything that you guys have said, and I'll be very brief, is very cool and on the mark. For me, it's about being a good listener. Just got to listen. And sometimes you got to go beyond the call of duty. Just be a listener in terms of if it's something maybe you're not even interested in. If you listen, maybe you could be interested in what the opposite sex sometimes has to say. For example, with me in the relationship that I'm in, the girl that I'm Catholic and she's a non-denominational Buddhist, is this goddess woman. For me, initially, that was a little, I wasn't sure what to make of it, but because I was open to it. I completely honor her and I adore everything that she does. And because I was a good listener. And then lastly, I'll just say, be authentic and be a millionaire in your heart. Like, I feel like I'm a millionaire in my heart, and that goes a long way. Anyway, that's it.
Also, be patient. Oops, crap, I'm about to break everything. I just tripped over a cord. Anyway, I worked in bars. As a younger, bars are where people used to go to hook up. It wasn't online, but this is 40 years ago. But I would spend at least 125 nights a week in bars because at one point I was bouncing 3 bars and was a stripper in another bar. And even so, it took forever to meet somebody. You have to do the work to get out there, or I guess to get on Tinder and be swiping away. You have to do the work, but you also have to be patient because it's unlikely to happen immediately.
Wait, I've got more. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right. So as far as the money thing goes, the other thing that people don't realize is that women don't really need a guy with money until they're in their late 30s. So a younger woman is going to be more romantic, and they're also predisposed to taking a risk on a guy that has ambition and might end up successful. So when people say women are really into money, what they're really saying is that eventually they're going to need a provider if they want to have children, or they're going to need a guy that seems successful, but they're not going to need that when they're 15. And they're not going to need that when they're 23, because at that point, they're very romantic and they're just beginning to explore men. So the money thing is more for the mature woman.
So Cassidy,
and wait, there's more. Once the woman reaches a certain age, she's no longer going to care about money either, because she will have been through so many men and so many experiences that what she wants is a guy that's going to be good company, that they enjoy being with. And that could very well be a poor man if they really enjoy it. But she's got to go through an awful lot to get to that point.
So Cassidy, what about women who want to find a guy who doesn't suck?
Women who want to find a guy that doesn't suck. Uh, um, as a woman, I feel like, and having, a lot of women friends, I feel like we're all looking for a man that doesn't suck. And I feel like most of the time we're just looking for people to listen, hear us, make us feel special, make us feel seen, give us the love that our parents didn't give us. Make us feel empowered and sexy and like a goddess. That's like, usually if you can do those things, you can just be who you are. As long as you're hitting those marks, as long as you're really digging into your soul too. A lot of women want your heart, is typically it. They want your heart to lead forward. And also I do think like having clear focus on your goals and ambition and life purpose and everything, I feel like that will just like naturally add to you as a person and as a man. But yeah, that's what I'm always looking for. I'm looking for someone who's like present and respects the goddess.
And based on what my wife tells me again and again and what I've read, when women say they want somebody who listens, they mean listen and sympathize. Go, oh, that sounds like it sucks. Like it sounds like you had a terrible day. It doesn't mean give them advice about what to do about their shitty day, because they probably have some ideas already. And even if they don't, your ideas aren't going to be better than their ideas because they're living their life. Well, they want somebody to go to my wife hates when I'm looking at the computer while she's talking to me. They want somebody who makes eye contact and offers sympathetic comments and can remember what was said. My wife always tells me what her plans are. And then the next day, I'm like, where are you going? And she's like, ah. So have we reached the end of that topic?
I think so.
Um,
Lance, can you just give us a
wait, do we have Canadian corner at this point?
Okay. Yeah.
Scott, you got to ask him.
Yeah.
Scott,
Great, Scott.
If not, we
Hello.
can move on to.
Maybe.
Are we going to beam me up to the next topic, or what's the question?
What do you got from Canada? What are we missing here?
I think kindness reigns in long term. Short term, maybe not. Long term does. Let's
how do they know if you're kind on the first day when you just walk up to them?
That's why I said long term. Yes.
All right.
So are glasses okay now? I can't see you, but are you wearing glasses right now?
Yes.
I am wearing glasses right now.
So are glasses okay? When Lance and I were young, you tried not to wear glasses because they were not cool. But now I think they're cool, right? They're okay. You can get away with it.
They're cool. They're a vibe.
Okay.
Look at me with your eyes.
Yeah, I think it also depends.
What's not a vibe?
I feel like what makes things a vibe is doing it with charisma, or what the Gen Z would say, Riz, is embodying what you're wearing. So I really feel like it's not even about what you wear. It's like embodying it. Like, yeah, I'm going to wear these glasses, or yeah, I'm going to wear this. And there's men now who are wearing so many different interesting, eccentric things, and it just makes them better because they have the quote unquote Riz.
Sure. Also, glasses fit to the purpose. Right? Where are you? What are you doing? And then having to pair glasses for different situations too.
Okay. And if you don't naturally have Riz, how do you fake it?
Riz.
Riz.
Well, I think it's Riz.
It is Riz, I think.
Okay.
I don't know.
Riz. It's like
That-
charisma.
Yeah.
Think, yeah.
Like Sigma, no cap, Riz. These are all Gen Z phrases.
So, like, all my attempts at Riz were like before the term existed. They were like often failures. For instance, I thought chicks dug scars, so I gave myself a bunch of because it showed I've had some tough man experiences. You can see it in the painting, but yeah, I've got these old ass scars. And I even won a Rambo lookalike contest back in the 80s. But the only one woman liked my scars, and she was way beyond my skill level in dealing with stuff. All right. So, and I don't know what else. I tried to dye my hair blonde and turned it orange. Everything I did was stupid. What are some high probability of not failing approaches to Riz?
I mean, the current trend is towards authenticity rather than faking it. And women have a pretty good nose of things that are inauthentic and fake. So
what you're saying is, like, I'm pretty much on the spectrum. So you're saying
You could stay there, but you don't have to move.
so you're saying, all right. So you're saying if you're nerdy, which I was and am, that's okay now, and it's better than faking being something else. All right, Mark, go.
Yeah, I've got some good news and everything along those lines. One, I'm glad y'all mentioned exercise and everything like that, because there was a wellness festival that was going on or something like that here in my city of Durham, North Carolina, and everything. So they had you roll a dice and you had to do 30 deep knee bends and everything like that if you rolled a 30. So I was actually amazed that I was actually able to pull that off, because I am not in the best of shape and all along those lines, but I was able to pull it off, and it's from a new gym that's opening in this area and everything. But I did have a quick question for our model, because last week,
No, she's taking a break. She's taking a break. So you got to ask us something.
well, I can ask you as well, but maybe she'll have it when she comes back and everything along those lines. But this will be you three gentlemen, as well as the our musician. He can answer it as well, and she can answer it when she comes back, because it was a event that was here in Durham on yesterday. It was a Porsche show, so like the fancy car, the Porsches, and all along those lines. There was some 400 Porsches from around the world. They travel all over. They've even been to California, where you are, and everything. It's got like a German last name and everything like that. So my question is, because I don't drive, I do the whole mass transit thing. How important and how much do women, in your observation, enjoy the fancy cars? Because like I said, there was a lot of people that were out there admiring the Porsches and everything along those lines. So how I heard you talk about authenticity, but how important is it for somebody to have those fancy cars? Because I did see a lot of women and a lot of guys that were being blown away by the fanciness of the Porsche race cars, because these are the older Porsches.
So maybe I was lucky, but when I met my wife, I was driving a dented Pinto that smelled like grape toothpaste. So nothing cool about my car at all. Cassidy?
It's funny because I think there's this idea, and maybe it's society's what it's imprinted on us, that you have to like have a really cool car and do this or that. But it's funny, if I look at myself or my friends, a lot of them, as long they don't really care. Some of them, it's always a bonus when you're like, "Ooh, my boyfriend's driving this nice brand new car." That's always a bonus. But I mean, a lot of women like don't care as much as people think they do. They just want to feel seen and special.
When I was a kid, I built a lot of car models. I used to love cars, and then I moved to LA and I saw some of the people who drive fancy cars, and it really turned me off, because like the Tesla truck, there's like an 85% chance that the guy who's driving a Tesla truck is kind of a douchebag. There's always one make of car. 12 years ago, maybe it was Hummers. 6 years ago, maybe it was Audis. There's always a Dickmobile in LA. And so I don't know. I mean, I know my wife would like to drive a Mercedes or a BMW, but we've never decided the cost was worth it.
Hey, Lance, what's your take on Porsches? Because like I said, they came from all over the country. There's actually a gentleman here that was a collector before he passed away and everything like that. So there's a lot of people that were getting blown away by the old model race car Porsches, the ones that were there, say, starting from the 50s to like the early 2000s.
I knew a guy that was very wealthy, and I had just been dumped by my girlfriend. I'd been rejected by this woman I loved, and I said, "What do you do?" He was an older man, and I wanted advice. And he said, well, I don't know because I've never been rejected by a woman. And I analyzed his lifestyle, and he had a Rolls Royce. And he made sure, it was a small town, that everyone knew that he had a Rolls Royce. In fact, he was the only one in the town that had a Rolls Royce, and he made sure everybody saw it. Now, I don't know if that has any connection to the fact that he was never rejected by a woman, but I want to comment on women's intuition because that came up earlier. Like, because the Canadian said women have a good sense of what is bullshit and what isn't. So this is my theory about women's intuition. If there are 100 men in a room and one of them is a serial killer, the woman will go home with the serial killer.
All right, time for music from JD.
Hey, before everybody leaves, and while JD's getting set up and everything, I do have good news for you. There are 110 people watching on our Twitter right now. So just let y'all know that. There was-
Bailando en Santa Fe, bailando en Santa Fe, bailando con un diablo, bailando con un ángel. Bailando en Santa Fe, bailando en Santa Fe, bailando con un diablo, bailando con un ángel. ¡Ja! Bailando en Santa Fe, bailando en Santa Fe, bailando con un brujo, Enrique Samisa. Bailando en Santa Fe, bailando en Santa Fe, bailando con un brujo, Enrique Samisa. Bailando en Santa Fe, bailando en Santa Fe, bailando con figuras, bailando gozando. Bailando en Santa Fe, bailando en Santa Fe, bailando con figuras, curando gozando. Thank you so much. I just wrote that. Brand new original Bailando in Santa Fe. I was on tour, and the last stop was Santa Fe, and that inspired me to write that song. So hope you're enjoying the music. Coming back more with Naked at Night with Rick, Lance, Mark, Cassidy, and myself.
And Scott.
That's Scott, the Canadian guy. Bam. Bam.
Naked at Night with Cassidy and Lance and JD and Scott and Mark and Rick. So I was thinking a lot. We did our last set of shows 2 weeks ago. And in those 2 weeks, I was thinking a lot of something you said off camera. I was in the afternoons on Sunday, I come and I pose for Lance's art class, and then we turn it around and do these shows. And in that class, you talked about how you had read a blog post by some guy named Gavin saying that Kimmel probably became woke because he married his current wife, right?
That's what it said.
And then
Gavin Mc,
so let me get to the punchline.
Yeah.
Or you can say it, but so 30 years ago, this Gavin guy worked with Jimmy when Jimmy was on K-Rock radio station in LA in the late, I don't know, mid 90s, say. And I said, well, that does not line up with my experience because I worked for Kimmel for 15 years and on the late night show for 11 and a half years. And, that I found a lot of not woke, that the priority of the show was not to be woke. And you said, well, I don't believe you. And then I thought about whose blog you read, and it's Gavin McGinnis, I believe is his name,
Yeah.
one of the founders of the Proud Boys, a white nationalist organization who knew Jimmy 30 years ago when he was part of a radio morning zoo. And this was like, fuck that. That's fucking ridiculous. I had direct experience of the show where we were not woke, and the focus of the show, including Jimmy's wife, before she was ever married to Jimmy, she rose to the top of that show on the basis of extreme competence. She was better at coming up with stuff for the show and getting it on the air because it was producible than any other writer. She went from assistant getting yogurt for the executive producer of the show to frickin' head writer, which is frickin' insane. And it was because she valued the work, and she turned out to be wildly funny. And it was not a matter of wokeness. In fact, and I can't talk too much about it because I signed an NDA, but like on one show I worked on, I'm a comedy writer, and my nickname was Poo Cooch Jizz, given to me by the head of the show because I could not stop submitting inappropriate stuff because I was an idiot. But like I submitted way too much filthy stuff, and eventually I learned not to. But all right. Another thing, that there was a lawsuit from in a writer's room that isn't shitty. Now, a writer's room for a good show often, nothing should be off limits. I don't know about shitty shows. I watch some shows and then I turn them off quickly, and I'm like, they must have a horrible writer's room full of idiots. But a good writer's room will be full of people often saying filthy stuff. The sitcom Friends was sued by a writer's assistant years after the show went off the air because the things that were said in that room were often like filthy and offensive. And then Friends went to court and said, we need that freedom in the writer's room. You don't get good usable jokes unless you have the freedom to say anything in the room. And the court agreed with them that in a writer's room full of funny, messed up, lunatic, stand-up comedians and other, you're going to hear a lot of unwoke stuff. And Lance, here's the smoking gun. Lance's dad, who created the Pink Panther and won an Oscar, was nominated in what year? 1955?
60.
Anyway, he was
60.
in 1 year.
60.
2 of the 5 best screenplay nominees were Lance's dad for comedies. Lance's dad was the greatest, the number 1 comedy writer in Hollywood in the 50s and 60s. Was your dad woke, Lance? Was he always saying liberal platitudes around the house, kumbaya shit?
Actually, I'm afraid to admit it, but he was a leftist. And at the time, we just thought he was a basic Democrat, like Democrats used to be, like JFK or, Hubert Humphrey or someone like that. But I know that a lot of his ideas taken to their extreme, which he would never have gone to, but I see that they could end up being Bernie Sanders if they're taken to an extreme.
But was he?
So he used to say he had limits because he remembered what America used to be like, but he was a leftist.
Yeah, was he around the table? Was he like bemoaning the Vietnam War?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And at the time, this is very interesting if you think about it, because I realize now that what we thought was innocent patriotism, but of a liberal nature, we were against prejudice and bigotry, and we wanted peace and this and that. But if you stuck with that through 9/11, through the Obama administration, through the wars in Iraq, if you stuck with that, you would today be a communist. You would basically want the overthrow of the United States government to be replaced with communists.
That's crazy talk.
No, but
I'm a comedy writer, and I made a good living, and I kind of love capitalism. And I live in a nice house that was earned through capitalism.
yeah, but I've always told you, you're what Stalin would have called a useful idiot. So what that means is you don't know you're a leftist. You think you're a normal capitalist, but when the communists, when they take over, they're going to make America like a broken socialist country, like some of those hellholes in Europe. And you won't even know why. You won't even know that it was your vote that helped it happen.
Khrushchev said in 1962, I think, that we will conquer the U.S. without firing a single shot. We will cause, rot and dissension from within.
That's
But
right.
to me, it seems
what
like the MAGA wing of America has been more captured by Russian propaganda over the past 10 years than the libs have.
Okay. So I've been trying to tell people that leftists are so brainwashed that they won't realize anything's wrong until they're being marched to the gallows to be hung by the communists that they voted for. Rick lives in Los Angeles. 9 months ago, the whole goddamn city burned down. It was so bad that the Democrats were such poor leaders that they let the city burn down. And Rick still doesn't understand that maybe there was a problem with the people he
Now,
voted
when you say the whole city burned down, you mean the two big fires, the Malibu fire and the Eaton fire.
Uh-huh.
And there was a lot of blame to go around.
No Republicans were involved with it. None of them held office.
I'm not saying the Republicans were, but I'm saying that there's plenty of stuff to go around, from foliage to climate change to, hold on, I mean, because we had super bad winds, but to probably incompetent decisions made by the fire department, by the city for allocating resources, maybe by the state government. But I mean, if you're going to divide up the responsibility, there's a lot of places where you can point fingers. But this is something that has happened, and it doesn't excuse what happened last year. This happens every 20, 30 years. Malibu freaking burns down.
No, it doesn't. Do you want to speak,
I
Cassidy?
do want to speak.
All right.
I think there's something way bigger than we can understand at play. And I think we're seeing something that it's two different sides, but is it not this like two different wings of the same bird? I feel like since the beginning of the United States of America, it has been this like democracy, and these parties have been built off slavery and genocide over people and manipulation and propaganda. So at some extent, both sides are carrying an extreme amount of propaganda. There's probably agenda on both sides. And I think at the top, they're working together to keep us blindsided from our own power. It's like, what is the best? Capitalism, socialism, this and that. I think that the whole system as a whole entirety is needs to be at question. And I feel like both sides are just breeding an extreme amount of confusion that just keeps repeating itself and putting profit over people and confusing us even more. So then there can be bigger plays happening, like big ass land grabs.
Well, there are implications to what you say. Trump only got 3 million more votes this time around than he got 4 years before in 2020. But about 10 million Democratic voters who showed up in 2020 didn't show up to vote this time around because, kind of sharing your sentiments, they're bummed out about the whole frickin' system. And I'm going to throw in something else, which is what's coming isn't necessarily good. You talk about socialism, communism, capitalism. What I'm afraid is coming is computism, where AI slowly infiltrates everything with it. It doesn't have priorities yet because it's not conscious yet, but it's starting to act as if it is because it's been trained on humans who are conscious. And eventually, more and more of our resources are going to get used by AI and the people who know how to harness it. And it'll make amazing things in some ways, but overall might be frickin' terrible. There's a thing called P-doom, where if you talk to experts in the field of AI, that's the probability that they estimate that AI wipes us all out. And most people's in the field, their P-doom is between 5% and 20%, which is also the odds that you get when you play Russian roulette. Those are not good odds.
I've been trying to argue with Rick for a long time that I'm not really that concerned about the technology, not because I'm a prophet that really knows everything, but because we have way more immediate problems that are solvable. We're going to have AI because the military needs it to keep up with our enemies. So that's going to happen. But in the meantime, we have 30 million illegal aliens in this country.
That's your number, which
yes,
a lot of people don't agree with.
Border Patrol. That's the Border Patrol. We have war in Europe that might expand. We have $37 trillion in debt. And we never had this kind of debt before. We never had $1 trillion years ago. So we've got big problems. And I realize that I realize that tech always comes up with something that's important. For example, you couldn't ignore that there was nuclear weaponry. These things do ultimately matter, but I didn't mention crime. The crime is nobody in America feels safe anymore.
I feel safe.
Yeah, I know, because you live in a wonderful part of town and you rarely go out. So the people that I know are scurrying to their cars and they're avoiding huge swaths of town. And this is going on in every big city. So the point is that we've got some very big problems that Trump is doing a lot to solve. And AI's potential is low on my list of concerns.
Well, all right. A couple things. One is, we know from a ton of movies what happens when you put AI in charge of nuclear arsenals. Shit happens so fast that humans can't get in there to stop AI from launching strikes. Two, crime is at a 30-year low. And you're going to say, well, no, the FBI is lying. In most American cities, crime reached a peak in 1990 under the end of the first George Bush and under Clinton. And one reason crime is way down is because everybody's at home typing on their into social media. They're not on the street. They're ordering shit from Amazon. It's hard to have street crime when nobody is on the frickin' street. So no, crime was way worse decades ago. And let's talk about Portland.
And crime was created by the government.
So wait. Would you care to expand on that?
Crime was created by the government, and the whole creation of the United States of America. They come over to America and they push Native Americans. They force Native American people to sign illegal peace treaty documents that manipulated them to giving up their land and forced them into small little places, shipped a bunch of people over, a body of people over, created slavery in the United States of America, which eventually had to be fought for their own rights, and then push these people into ghettos, which create crime because there was so much racism because of how this United States of America was created, that ghettos were created. And if you know anything about these places, it was because they didn't have any other way to live. It's like they were pushed out of society. They had to hustle. They had to find their way on the streets. So in my eyes, crime and all of these areas was created by the government, and then the war on drugs and everything like that. And I feel like if it was just about getting the criminals out, it would have been handled in a much different way than it has been handled since the beginning of this leg of Trump's presidency.
So there's an idea in America that we're not perfect, but we strive to become a more perfect nation. And the idea under that, I feel, is that, yeah, we did some bad shit in the past, but we're trying to do less bad shit into the future. And a beef I have with Trump, and that a lot of people have, is that he's trying to erase a lot of the records of, the less great shit that we did in the past. We had, everybody knows the Holocaust, where Hitler's Germany murdered 6 million Jews. And if they know a little bit more, they know that Hitler's Germany also murdered another 5 million other people, Poles, handicapped people, gay people, Polish prisoners. But it was really 11 million people murdered, not including the people who died in combat. And then if you look at the US, there are a couple long-term historical trends that you could argue were holocausts in their own right, which is we started bringing slaves to the U.S. in the 17th century, and we didn't end slavery until 1865. So we had more than 200 years of slavery, and you can try to do the math, though it's tough, to figure out how many Black people suffered and died under slavery. And the math is even tougher for how many Native American people suffered and died. But you could reasonably argue that in each case, it was many millions. And yeah, we and the U.S., benefited from the unpaid labor of slaves. The White House was largely built by slaves. And we should be able to talk about it. We should be able to go to the Smithsonian and see displays about that stuff and talk about it. And it doesn't mean that we're terrible people. And it doesn't mean that, that every American who lived in the 18th or 19th century was a piece of shit. It just means that shit was fucked up then, and we're trying to make shit less fucked up now.
Exactly. And it's just repairing the colonized mind that the government, the beginning of America, the colonized mind, it's just repairing that. And I think it's just about a repair, and a repair happens by, if you think about it in like a therapeutic aspect, you don't heal your inner child trauma until you look at the wound. And I think that's what's being asked, is to just look at the wound and don't forget it, and talk about history in a correct way so we don't recreate it. And if you see what's happening in Palestine and Gaza right now, it's a whole nother thing, like the Holocaust, like the takeover of what now became the United States, like different colonized countries and states and bodies of land and people. It's just to look at it so it doesn't recreate itself, because at the end of the day, we are all human life, and like our spirit, we're all connected. And that's the thing that I think that I always want to say, is like, we're all connected. Like, no life should be valued over another life, and human life should be come always before profit.
All right, I want to say one quick thing, then we'll go to Lance, because Lance has some rebuttal, I'm sure. I don't feel guilty every day, or even, most days, because I didn't have slaves, but and I worry about the judgment of the future, which is ridiculous because I'll be freaking dead. But like, I eat a lot of chicken, and I eat some other meat products, and we treat meat animals like shit, and we think, well, it doesn't matter because eventually they get their heads chopped off, and it's all over for them. They don't remember anything because their brains has been thrown into some garbage hopper. But is the future going to think we're freaking savages because we treated our animals so badly, except for our special pets? I don't know. But just because I'm aware of all this stuff doesn't mean I walk around like bemoaning and hating on the US every single minute. I'm just like, well, freaking history's history. I wish I had a time machine to go back and tell Thomas Jefferson to marry Sally Hemings, who he was banging and probably in love with a little bit, and free the rest of his freaking slaves. But we don't have a freaking time machine. Lance, you got thoughts?
Okay, so this is like 6 different issues. As far as crime goes, I'm really excited about how Trump has cleaned up crime in Washington.
They were picking up garbage
in less than 3 months. The crime rate is about a third of or a quarter of what it was. And what that tells me is that we've always been able to clean up crime if we wanted to, if the politicians wanted to, but none of them knew how or wanted to. So we've learned that when you have a great leader, he can clean up the crime in a city. And so I'm very, very proud and excited about what he's done. And the thing that Rick and I keep arguing about week after week is whether crime is worse now. And Rick keeps saying crime is down. Well, that doesn't really matter if it's down. I don't believe it's down, but even if it was, the US has about half the number of police that an average European country has. And we have tremendous amounts of crime. I don't know anybody that hasn't been mugged, raped, or robbed in some terrible way. And it's because regardless of how much crime we have, we're doing a terrible job of protecting our citizens. Rick's not afraid, but all the people I know are afraid. In this neighborhood, most people have a gun or are carrying illegal. They're carrying weaponry on them. In this particular industrial park, people are all armed. So crime is.
So let me explain.
No.
The model poses for 25 minutes and then she gets a break. So
yeah, but I'm not done with what
all right, I'm
saying.
saying
I addressed your point on crime. Okay. Now I want to address Cassidy's point on slavery. Okay. In my opinion, a lot of people don't realize that every country on earth had slavery. In fact, there were more white people enslaved by Arabs than there were blacks enslaved by whites. And the reason that people are tired of talking about slavery is that every single high school and college kid I've ever met or heard of knows all about slavery, that America is the land of the slaves. When I was teaching at a college, I remember asking, it was Lincoln's birthday, and I said, "Do you guys know anything about Abraham Lincoln?" And the only thing they knew about Abraham Lincoln was that he was a slave owner.
Wait, Abraham Lincoln?
That's what they said. That's what I'm talking about. Kids have these crazy ideas about American history. Now, there is some scholarship that technically he owned a building that at one time had a slave or something like that. They've been able to tie it to him. But the point is, when you hear about Abraham Lincoln, the first thing you should think of is he was the great freer of slaves, the great emancipator. And what I am very excited about what Trump is trying to do is to make people believe in America again. Because if you don't believe in your country, if you don't love your country will deteriorate. It seems like it's just a symbolic thing. And it's not hiding the truth, and it's not mere symbolism to foster love of country. Love of country is very important for a country to survive. And I'm all for it. So whenever you talk about slavery to American children, you should also talk about how America was one of the first countries to free slaves, and that America freed the whole world from communism and Nazism and the Empire of Japan. And that right now, if America didn't exist, the whole world would be divided between communist China and Russia.
All right, let me rebut Washington, D.C. So if you ask AI, Washington, D.C.'s crime rate fell significantly in 2024, before Trump ever sent troops in. Violent crime dropped by 35% in 2024, 32% in decrease homicides, 39% decrease in robberies, carjackings down by half. Now, I don't know, but so crime was already dropping like crazy from a peak of 2023 before Trump ever sent in the National Guard, which often found itself with nothing to do but pick up litter. All right, so
I'm going to rebut that. First of all, I don't trust anything AI says about politics because it's written by Democrats. First of all, so screw AI. Secondly, crime has dropped 87% in some crimes since Trump took office. Carjacking. Since Trump surged troops into Washington, D.C., 87% it's down. Also, murders, rapes, robberies, all down by more than 50%. And since Trump surged the National Guard into Washington, not since 2024. Anyway,
are we moving on? What do we got? What we got, Mark?
Oh, yeah.
Scott?
Scott,
Canadian Corner.
Scott?
Turn your microphone on, Scott.
You're muted.
A good point of
We
reference
can hear you.
is probably two things. So I'll give the Canadian perspective on ourselves from, for what should be a biased encyclopedia, Canadian encyclopedia. They may have updated the numbers, but when I last looked at it, a small note. We're on some time. And so the small note was that 1 in 6 Canadians are functionally illiterate. And the literacy rate in Canada is relatively high internationally. And then if you go to the United States, based on some more recent sort of footnote research, so at least 2 separate reliable indicators. The United States, the average grade reading level is probably somewhere between grade 6 and grade 8 for the nation as a whole. So that may be a reasonable analogy to Lance's point about sort of the educational standards in a number of domains, and then also explain Rick's exasperation about the Lincoln point that came up too.
So wait, what you're saying is that we've raised a generation of schmucks?
Well, if it's the country as a whole, then it's the nation has produced itself as such.
All right. That's not good. Are you saying that Canada is less schmucky than the U.S.?
Yeah, on literacy, and so then therefore probably on a lot of other metrics too, because your access to information is going to be based around how well you can read.
Hey Scott, I have a question about Canada.
Sure.
When's Canada going to be? When is Western Canada going to be part of America?
Well, that's an interesting point, because there actually was at least one political or business leader, I forget the name off the top, who, when the declarations about a 51st state were getting sort of rage-filled Canadian, responses. One particular commentator said, "I can't wait for Alberta to become the 51st state of the United States of America." So I don't know. So question.
Who knows and everything. I'm popping in because we got music and a couple of things. One, I'm glad that the model brought up the Indian culture and the native culture, because it is a known fact that the highways were intentionally gone through Black communities and other poor communities. And to your point, Lance, Sam Altman says he's politically homeless, and Greg Brockman actually is a major Republican, and they are the founders of ChatGPT. So the founders are actually Republican.
So what Mark is referencing is that highway planners, particularly Robert Moses, when we were building America's highway system in the 50s and 60s, liked to run their highways through poor people's neighborhoods, often minority neighborhoods, because it was easier to get political consent because poor people didn't know where to go to fight. And in Robert Moses's case, he didn't like Black people. He didn't like minorities. So he was okay with devastating, bulldozing their neighborhoods.
I mean, often the neighborhoods were well established. They were often Black Wall Streets. Tulsa was one that was more like a bomb and everything, but Durham and other ones, they literally ran the highway through what were successful neighborhoods and everything like that. I did have a quick question for our model, and we're going to get off politics for a minute and everything like this, but just on a notion of animals, because I heard that when we started the show that she said that she at one time had a cat, and I've had cats as well. Love cats, love dogs, and everything like that. But since we were talking romance earlier and everything, and I had this conversation with friends of mine, can cat owners and cat lovers get along with dog lovers? So what has been your experience as a cat owner? Can you get along with dog lovers, or are you strictly a cat loving person?
Oh, I feel like, okay, well, cat loving people are very unique people, but I feel like absolutely cat owners can definitely get along with dog owners because they understand the unconditional love of an animal. But the feline people, strictly feline people, there's definitely there's like an air of mystery to them. So I think yes. And I at the same time, that might not be a universal yes.
Yeah, what's your take on that, Lance and Rick? Either of you got cats and dogs, and can they get along with each other?
So, yeah. Though it's weird because dogs are super friendly and cats can be friendly, but their reputation is that they're kind of dickish. And I was thinking, like, how can two different domesticated pet strategies be so different? And I'm thinking one thing is that cats generally are all roughly the same size, which is, I don't know, less than 20 pounds, yay big. And if they had as much variation in size as dogs, from 2 pounds to 150 pounds, we wouldn't tolerate cats being dicks because a 150-pound cat in the house might kill you.
All right. I have an explanation to help people understand cats and dogs.
Please.
And these two facts will explain everything you need to know. One, Dogs are pack animals, and the owner is the leader of the pack. Cats are not pack animals, so they're individuals, and they don't look up to you as the leader. That's number one. Number two, dogs have been proven to be more intelligent than cats.
All right, one more thing, an update for LA. LA, nobody knows why, but LA is currently being overrun by coyotes, which
Because of the fires caused by the Democrats.
Hey, Lance, before we get to the music, just really quickly, what's the difference between a pack and a pride? Because cats are pride animals, and that has that pack mentality as well. Because lions very much have a pride mentality, as do tigers and other members of the feline family.
No, actually, lions do have prides, but panthers, jaguars, and tigers are lone hunters.
also, I think a pack, a dog pack, like they can get along without like beating the shit out of each other. I feel like a pride, there's a lot of snarling and I don't know.
Play the music.
Okay.
Yo soy Chicano Vampiro. I'm the Mexican American vampire. Right on. Right on. Right on. I'm the Mexican American vampire. Yo soy Chicano Vampiro. A la neta. A la neta. A la pura neta. ¡Ha! Yo soy Chicano Vampiro. I'm the Mexican American vampire. Right on. Right on. Right on. I hope you're having a fantastic time so far with Naked at Night with Rick, Lance, Mark, Scott Jacobson, and Cassidy. And I'm JD. Stick around for the next episode. And we're going to hear a little bit about the artwork, the beautiful artwork that Lance is doing right now. Bam!
Bam. Time? Are we on?
Yep.
Hey, it's Naked at Night with Cassidy and Rick and Lance and JD and Scott and Mark. And since we're not doing too much politics, even though the whole last segment was frickin' politics, I was going to do Art Corner where I just show, I don't have the creative oomph of juice or genius of frickin' Lance here, but I like buying busted up stuff and like fixing it. And I've been slowly fixing Jesus here. This is Jesus and Mary and John. And this thing weighs 30 pounds. I don't know what is under the mosaic, but whatever it is, it weighs a ton. And it must have fallen off the wall and it knocked off Jesus's face and Mary's and his pee-pee and his knees. And I've been slowly patching him up. Though it takes a lot of colors, and sometimes I'll order colors and they don't match. But anyway, he sits in my office, and I don't believe in Jesus because A, I'm Jewish, and B, I'm kind of sciencey, but I sure talk to him a lot. I'm like, Jesus, please, I don't believe in you, but please come back and rapture all the jackasses off the planet so we can calm down. All right, then here's another piece of art I didn't make that leads to a topic, which is here. This is a Lego version of the Mona Lisa. And this thing, if I bought it new and put it together, it would be $100. This Lego stuff is super expensive. But I bought it used for way. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
I bought it used for way less. But what's happening is that China is knocking off stuff, and you can buy knockoff products on Temu for ridiculous prices. This is an earring that's based on a micro mosaic that, let me run around and
Yes.
jam it into the camera.
Thank you.
If this were real, it would be worth $5,000. I bought a pair of these as earrings for $4. And, you know, it doesn't look entirely real, but it doesn't look totally real, but it certainly looks more than 1/1000th is real. You know, I can spend 1/1000th to get a thing from China for $4 that would sell for $5,000. If this thing were real and not from China, it would be like $1,000. It was $5 for a pair of them. And so China is knocking off stuff at a crazy rate. They, you know, I told you this Mona Lisa would be $100 retail. China is selling a Lego version of Van Gogh's Starry Night for like $19 and other maybe $7. The prices are crazy, and it's all based on China's idea of what Americans want. China has some kind of AI algorithm that scours pictures from America to see what we're into. And here's where it gets, I mean, I'm going to get crazy in a second, but there's a polishing machine, a grinding machine, which is an engine mounted on a stand that you use to grind and polish like metal, gemstones, wood. And that thing would be like a grinder polisher would be what, $100, Lance, if you bought it retail?
Oh yeah.
It sits on a metal stand, and you bolt the stand to your work surface. And they're selling these from China for $5, shipping included, which is insanity. And is this, Lance can answer after I get through my BS. It feels like a program from China to bring down the US by selling shit to Americans for super cheap. Like, they can't possibly make some of this stuff for as cheap as they're selling it. So I feel like the government is like helping Chinese manufacturers out. And then there's one, like sometimes the algorithm screws up, and this is where it gets weird and a little pervy, where the algorithm on Temu, which is one of these Alibaba, Shine type, you know, fast fashion, fast knockoffs of everything, it keeps offering me underwear, t-shirts, and tattoos that advertise that the wearer likes to bang black guys and get pregnant by black guys. And this is insane to me, but there are dozens of these products. And my only explanation is that
Rick, you didn't really explain that.
the logo of these t-shirts,
Yeah.
underwear, tattoos, all say BBC or Queen of Spades. Queen of Spades, it shows a Q in the spade is a terrible racist term for black people. And the t-shirts and the underwear say BBC, which stands for big black word for something that begins with a C. And I don't see Americans buying this. I can't imagine. I think that the AI, that the algorithm in China scoured the internet and ran into a bunch of porno where, you know, people are hooking up with black guys and decided, oh, Americans are all into getting with black guys. And certainly a huge segment of Americans are. 12%, 13% of Americans are black, and there are a high percentage of other people who probably, would happily date black guys. But I don't see any market for people walking around in shirts or underwear that advertise this fairly specialized sexual preference. Lance, Cassidy, I think the AI screwed up. I think the algorithm is nuts.
Well, Rick, I don't know why you have this obsession with black guys getting white girls pregnant. It's
No,
not
the
some-
AI China seems to.
I don't think it's the AI China. I think you brought that in here because that's what's on your mind, and it's okay. But I have no opinion.
Well, I will admit this, that I shop for bikinis online. I don't buy bikinis, but I know when I shop for bikinis that the pop-up ads will show me ladies wearing bikinis, which reminds me that I like women.
Will you wear a bikini on the show one day?
I don't think anybody wants to see it. We
Maybe
did.
next.
No, see, I think it would create an uncomfortable situation. I mean, I've posed shirtless for this show for years and years, and it got us like 100 viewers. And there's a limited market for an old guy with his shirt off. So, I mean, maybe somehow Temu saw that this guy likes looking at bikinis. Maybe he likes looking at very specialized underwear, but I doubt it.
Do you watch interracial pornography? Is that
No,
something that you specialize in?
I mean,
Maybe-
I'm not against it, but
Okay.
and we really shouldn't be talking about that. Now we're getting into uncomfortable areas.
Well, it's not like we were fine before, Rick. But okay.
But I don't think.
Is there another topic?
Yep. Lance, can you tell
Yes.
us about the painting?
Yeah. Okay. Here's another topic. So,
Wait.
yeah.
All right. So I don't know if they can see the drawing. Can they see the drawing?
Yes.
All right. So same thing as last week. I concentrated on the proportions as much as possible. And it's only today, can you look at me with your eyes, that I feel comfortable. It's only like right this minute that I feel comfortable enough to switch to darks. So I'm starting to add, I've got my fancy black pencil, and I'm starting to add blacks. All right. So anyway, you hold off on the end of that until you're good with your proportions. Otherwise, you're going to grind in something that you may have to erase.
Sorry.
All right.
Sorry. Keep going, Christian. I'm sorry.
Well, anyway, and if you are into black men with white women, that's fine. I mean, I'm okay with it. It's not personally a turn on for me myself, but if any of our listeners or viewers are watching that right now or long to participate in it, no, I'm just saying, they're one of the. Well, anyway, to each his own.
What I'm saying is that the AI keeps offering me up these women's underwear that advertise a sexual preference, and in the last 35 years, I've only had one pair of message underpants, and it was Valentine's underpants. Carol gave me for some they had hearts on them, and they became my laundry day underpants. When I had no other underpants, those are what I'd wear because I felt a little goofy in them. And I do not think that people wear message underpants as a rule. I could see that maybe for a bachelorette party as a joke, but I don't think that makes them anyway.
Wait a minute. Mark is one of our African-American brethren. If he'd like to opine on the question, feel free to.
Mark wears message underpants.
I think he is the message.
I don't know. I think I've led us
All
into
right,
some
what's the
tricky
next
territory.
subject?
All right.
Friends, just real quick, you were saying in terms of, we're really focusing on.
All right. So the deal is that in a minute, Cassidy's going to explain to people, because whenever I do a drawing like this, the first thing people ask me is people don't really focus on whether it's a good drawing or not. That's my job. Their job is to find out all about the model. And they want to know, did you just meet her somewhere? Did you ask her to model for you? I mean, is she going to get the drawing, and what kind of person is she? So Cassidy, why don't you put them out of their misery and explain what's going on here with you and your choices in life.
I love that, choices in life. Well, I mean, I'm definitely a lover of art and all forms of art, and I'm a musician personally. And art modeling, I have photographed before the art modeling world, and I always really enjoyed it. And art modeling became a thing just randomly, picking up random gigs. And I really appreciate this specific gig because I really enjoy being around fine artists. I think there's a lot that you get from these spaces with fine artists, and it's honestly just a really good side gig. I'm personally putting myself through school, so.
Well, she obviously doesn't know us that well, but that's wonderful that you naively believe those things. So, all right. So, what's our next
All
topic?
right, next
You
topic
wanted
is
to
my
criticize
wife.
Trump.
I'm down for that one.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Criticize Trump.
We hate you, Trump. Okay, so I'm going to criticize him. Honestly, I do want to say I think he did run a really good campaign. Just to be fair, this round, I also think he manipulated everyone. And I personally feel like the state of division that is happening in the United States right now, I feel like it's not in our benefit. And the amount of confusion that's going on in people's head is not going in a positive direction. But I do feel like it's a symbolism. It's like an important thing. And it's showing a lot of the shadow of these super extreme conservative views. In my point, it's like showing the shadow. But
So
also, I'm not going to also pin it all just on Trump. I also do think he's a puppet to something much bigger that we might not even understand, like at a full totality.
So you mentioned that you kind of think both parties are two arms of the same beast, basically.
Yes.
Does that mean that, do you care who wins the midterms next year?
It's so interesting because I really talked about this with a lot of people. I feel like we're forced into a position at all these elections to vote for the lesser evil, but they're still evils. So it's like, why are we even put in these situations to vote for a lesser evil of like two different? It's almost like we're like, okay, let's vote. There's a malignant narcissist and then there's a covert one. And we're like, okay, which one do we vote for? I don't know if I've seen a full on, maybe some independent running candidates, but I don't know if I've seen a total in the Democratic or Republican. I don't know if I've seen anyone who actually demonstrates like true leadership values and people-centered values and like values that I think would genuinely like make this country into what it could be, or genuinely be a good staple for humanity.
So some people blame the way our electoral laws were written, that it makes it almost impossible to have more than two major parties because, for instance, to win the presidency, you got to get a majority of the electoral college, or else things get really weird. It goes to the House, and there's a lot of bullshit involved with that. But then you look at other systems, like parliamentary systems, that sometimes lead to disastrous results. For instance, Israel, Netanyahu, to form a ruling coalition, has had to join forces with some really dickish ultra right wingers in Israel. So you can have parliamentary systems that are just as uncomfortable as the US's system.
Totally. I feel like we just have to dream up a new system. I feel like the systems as they were created are not going to serve in longevity, at least for like the awakening that I personally believe wants to happen in humanity's society.
Are you optimistic that we'll get something? I myself am like only semi-optimistic that we're not going to have an awakening, but AI is going to get in there and do a bunch of stuff, and it's going to kick everybody's asses. And I hope that, when 200 years from now, we still have some kind of system that has some room for humanity.
Yeah, I feel like, that quote, the mustard seed quote, it's like hope and faith kind of defeat everything. So it's what are we without hope? And I feel like in a lot of different spiritual texts and religious texts, there's these different stories that all kind of talk about the same thing. And I personally study Lakota tradition, and in that tradition, they talk about the white buffalo calf woman. She comes and restores peace on earth. And then there's the book of Revelations in Christianity. And then there's all these different things. So I feel like we have been in these times of grand awakening, and hope and faith is what we ride on. And we have to decide like how we as individuals are going to reimagine this. And I don't think it is by being involved in things that are creating a lot of division. And I'm also not saying, like, I think if you hold up the right and the left, there's good and bad in both. So it's kind of like holding up two mirrors. There's light and dark and shadow. So it's kind of like more of like an integration that I think needs to happen, and a reimagination.
I hope the book of Revelation isn't true. I think under that, only 144,000 people get into heaven.
Yeah. I don't mean to step on your line, but I do have something to say. Do you?
Yeah, go.
Okay. I have a new theory. Everybody is on the internet is concentrating on all the conflict stuff happening in Portland, Antifa, a lot of rioting, a lot of
that's your internet,
a lot of judicial conflict, conflict with things going to the Supreme Court, a lot of potential violence and real violence with people being assassinated. And I have a theory. I'm the only one that I know that has this theory, and I'll tell you what it is. I think what it means is the Republicans are winning. And this is what winning looks like. When the side that's losing is out of power and really has no way of gaining power, they're now desperate, and their odds are excellent that they're going to lose the next few elections, both the midterms and the presidential. And on some level, they realize this. And so what you're watching now is one side laying on the floor, screaming and kicking and hitting their head against the floor because they're losing and because they know the jig is up. And if that was to happen, that's what we would be having right now, is what we would be seeing.
I disagree. I think you're a little bad at math. Now, admittedly, the libs were wrong about Harris winning last year. But Trump only won the popular vote by less than 1.5%. For every 32 people who voted for Trump, 31 people voted for Harris. And statistically, when a president is as unpopular as Trump, the House flips, and they have the narrowest, the Republicans lead in the House in, I don't know, ever, maybe, of a ruling party. So I think there is cause for optimism among the Democrats. But
don't knock yourself out, Rick, because what the Trump administration is doing right now is cleaning up the elections. And the only way you people have been able to get yourselves elected is by cheating.
So the Heritage Foundation.
You said this last week.
Yeah, but it was true last week. It's true this week.
It's not true. What the Republicans are doing right now is they're instituting voter ID, picture ID, so that and they're stopping paper. They're stopping the machines. We're going to be using paper ballots wherever possible, and they're getting rid of millions and millions of Democrats by deporting them back to their countries of origin.
Most of that isn't true.
So you're not going to be able to cheat your way into winning next time.
All right, the Heritage Foundation, the conservative authors of Project 2025, beloved by certain Republicans and bemoaned by Democrats, they also have a project called the Election Integrity Project that keeps track of all documented instances of voter fraud over the past 20 years, and for some elections over the past 40 years. And out of 2 billion votes cast by Americans total across the last 20 years of elections, they've only found 2,000 instances of voter fraud.
Do you even believe that yourself?
Yeah, because you can go to the Heritage Foundation.
I mean, do you think that less than one high school's worth of people in the past 20 elections were voter fraud?
No, I think it's somewhat more, but not a lot more, because yeah, maybe it's 10,000, but still, okay. Maybe it's not a rate of 1 in a million. Maybe it's a rate of 1 in 200,000. Still not a rate that's enough to flip any freaking election, because it's a low reward, high risk activity, voter fraud. If you get caught engaging in voter fraud, you get sent to prison for years. But if you're successful and don't get caught, all you've done is cast one additional vote out of hundreds of thousands. If you drive the streets of LA, you will often find that a lot of the people driving under the speed limit are Mexicans, because they don't want to run afoul of authorities. So if somebody is going to be one of the few people in LA who doesn't drive like an asshole out of fear of the authorities, why would that same person risk everything, including, getting deported, going to prison, losing their family, to cast a piddly additional vote? That's just the brake alarm that you've.
So over the years, I have tried to present evidence that there was voter fraud to Rick, and that's when Rick usually talks over me. So in all of the swing states, they found, for example, at roughly midnight on election night in 2020.
Can you cheat when you talk to Rick?
Can I do what? Okay. All right. So in 2020, on election night, the word went out from people we don't know that all vote counting should stop in all the swing states.
Actually,
can you
adjust the camera so we see your face? Yeah.
Yeah, just turn to the camera.
Am I going to get this goddamn point off? Listen, after the voting was stopped around midnight on election night in 2020, the Voting began being counted after the counting it was stopped. It was counted again. And in all 7 swing states, Biden, who had been behind or roughly equal, suddenly had a 90 to 98% lead in all the counting in all the 7 swing states. And 2 of the women that were made famous because they kept putting votes back into the machines on camera in Atlanta, when just to show you that yes, there are benefits, they were actually given medals
And millions of dollars.
They were given medals in the White House by Biden after he won.
And they also
in ceremonies.
They also got a multi-million-dollar settlement from Rudy Giuliani, who attacked them for cheating on the election because they went to court and proved that they hadn't done anything wrong. So your people went to.
It was a corrupt.
Yeah, you keep saying that, but in 60 instances, you went to court and you got thrown out every time.
It was thrown out by corrupt judges. And by the way,
Cassidy, do you have an opinion in this? And it's okay.
No
not
comment. No comment.
Okay.
Okay. So anyway, regardless of that, you're not going to win. You're right now, all of your candidates are way behind Trump. So you're not going to win. The Democrat Party has the lowest popularity it's ever had in the history of the United
All right,
States.
that's true. So can we move on?
By the way, it's about half as popular as the Republicans. So you're going to lose the midterms. And when the elections are cleaned up, you probably will lose in 28, and that'll be the end of your evil.
Yeah, I disagree, and I want to move. We might not have time, but I want to move on to my wife and I saw 2 movies in a row over the previous 2 nights. We saw The Lost Bus with Matthew McConaughey, and then we saw The Smashing Machine with Emily Blunt and Dwayne Johnson. And one movie did stuff for movie reasons. We watched The Lost Bus, which is a bus full of school kids where Matthew McConaughey's trying to save them from the Paradise Fire, which destroyed a city of 27,000 people. And he drove through fire and he had a shit ton of adventures. I won't say whether they survived or not, but then we looked it up after the movie and found out that most of the movie was bullshit. Most of the adventures they had were either never happened or were exaggerated. So everything that happened in the movie was for movie reasons. And then we watched The Smashing Machine, and it was very confounding because everything the people did in the movie, they did for personal reasons, not because it would make for a good movie, because this movie was based on a documentary about these real life people. And it made for a very weird movie experience because shit didn't happen for movie reasons. It happened because real people made real decisions and had like real freaking failures that didn't make movie sense. Any comments on this? It was disturbing. Though the second movie I feel was the better movie because it had like some actual reality.
The only movie I can think of that came out recently was the movie that the only one I've seen of this type was the one about the children being kidnapped by a guy that was trying to save them. They were being kidnapped by sexual deviants,
and this guy stole them back from the
right. And after the film came out, everyone said that it didn't really happen like that. For some reason, the Democrats were very upset about it, and so they attacked the film. And all I can say is, if it didn't happen, there were a lot of things just like that did happen. And sometimes that's the best you get with a movie, is it can remind you of things that actually do happen, even if the characters and the dialogue are not the same. Now, there was a very famous incident of this called by, and this is a spoiler alert, Fargo. Remember Fargo?
Yeah.
Okay, so spoiler alert if you don't want to have the ending of Fargo ruined for you. But the beginning of the movie starts off where the Coen brothers have a phrase at the beginning. They say, what you're about to see is true, is based on actual events and actual people. And it turns out, no, none of it was. They just made it all up.
Yeah.
And they thought it would be, they thought people would enjoy the movie more if they thought what they were seeing was true, which was true.
Yeah, also, the show Fargo, which follows the same style as the movie, also begins every episode saying this is a true story. And none of the stories told on the show are true.
Right. And
Do we have marks?
So the idea is the idea.
The Canadian corner.
Wait, what they said was, just to be finish this up, is they said that there's no police that are going to come and jail us for saying this, and so we thought it would make the movie more interesting, and that's their argument.
So let's hear from Canada.
I mean,
Scott?
Hi, hello. One thing I want to touch on the earlier Trump piece of conversation, I think is important to note that I don't see talked about as much. The assassination of Charlie Kirk, there was a spike of interest in some reconciliatory dialogue across the political aisle between some public personalities, insofar as I could see as a sort of part-time outsider looking in. I don't know if that continued much beyond a week or two past the assassination. What does everyone think that says about sort of the American political landscape right now?
So a couple things. One is that liberals who knew about Charlie Kirk didn't necessarily like his shtick, but shut up about the shtick, and for the most part, including myself, were respectful, given that he'd been brutally assassinated, which he didn't deserve. And then there were the controversies. But now 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, people are, I guess, on the left, yeah, because they're the ones who were annoyed by Charlie Kirk, are speaking out saying, not everything he did was saintly, which, yeah, marks an end to the conciliatory sentiments I think, for the most,
I have conspiracy theories on this one.
Okay.
I feel like, okay, because Charlie Kirk, I mean, and pray, like, God bless his family and everything. No one should be dead, or their life should not be taken at all in all of this. But so he was for freedom of speech, which I really, really respect, actually. And there are so many videos that I've seen as I've gotten deeper where he was starting to talk about releasing the Epstein files and how it was like a moral duty that those Epstein files be released. He was also talking more about how what's happening over in Gaza is ethnic cleansing. And he was being very, like he is very, very open of speech about that. And there's been little clips and segments that I've gotten of that. I personally think that this was some sort of setup from this like super conservative Israel connected side rather than the liberal side, personally.
So just to make everything about me, which I feel like what happens between, or had when we were doing more politics, though we've done quite a bit of politics tonight, what happens between Lance and me is kind of what happens with Charlie Kirk and his debate partners on college campuses. But Charlie Kirk was a skilled debater and a happy debater. He was happy to go into colleges and debate, young kids who maybe didn't have like debate skills, and he would generally kick their asses. And I feel like in the history of the show, Lance, you generally kick my ass because you are a lot more experienced listening to conservative podcasts than I am listening to liberal shit. So you're way more prepared, and I get my ass kicked.
Yep, I got two questions for everybody, including Cassidy, and all along those lines and everything. And both of them are political. I think next segment and the last segment, I'll have a non-political one and everything like that. But I have seen a rise in gun violence. A friend of mine yesterday who actually mentioned that she was carrying a gun on her, whether she should transfer it from her pocket, literally her pocket, to her purse as we were going from one place to another and everything like that. And she's probably she's a little bit younger than me, so she might be in her 50s and all along those lines. And then also we have a local election here in Durham and everything like that, and the turnout has been very low and all along those lines. So Cassidy, I'll start with you, but I want to hear from the guys as well. What is your thoughts among your friends? Are they carrying a lot of weapons? And also, what are they thinking about local elections? Like here in Durham, our mayor will literally serve 2-year term.
Okay. On the gun thing, I mean, my immediate friends, I have friends in so many different places. I feel like in California, not a lot of people that I know carry guns, but I feel like more people are talking about it for sure. I don't know. I feel like it could be. I'm for whatever you feel like you might need, because I feel like we're definitely in somewhat of a revolution right now. And then I missed the other part of that question.
Well, I was asking about local elections. How important are local elections to you and your friends?
Global elections?
Local
Elections. I don't know. My friend group varies. Like a lot of people get really into like what's going on, and then a lot of people aren't focusing on it. To me personally, I try my best to stay educated, and I also, I'll fall short. I just started school, so I'm not as focused as I was before a couple months ago.
I think the Republicans since 2010 have very smartly concentrated more energy on local elections, because you can get a lot of stuff done via local control. In 2010, the Republicans said we should try to win every state house, every state legislature. And they did. They put a bunch of money, and it's cheaper to win a state election than a national election. And at one point, they controlled 38 out of 50 states, more than 3/4. And then they're like, well, let's go even more local. Let's try to control school boards. And they were pretty successful for a while there too. And, I mean, you got to give Republicans credit. They are highly strategic and highly aggressive, and they lean forward into political action, while the Democrats tend to be more passive and lean back and say, well, we're not as big a bunch of assholes as the Republicans. And people, if we just lean back and keep quietly doing good, people will come to us. And that turns out to not be true. The Democrats, if they want to win, need to be, I believe, as loud and aggressive as the Republicans. Hence, you've got Governor Newsom, being like doing the same shit on Twitter that Trump does, or that Trump does on Truth Social.
Okay, so the reason that California is now a solid Democrat state is because the Democrats were so evil that they got Reagan to agree to legalize millions of illegal aliens as part of a deal. And that was what got them California. That was for a long time 55 electoral votes and House of Representative seats. And it was because they were assholes. It was because they took people that were from other countries, because no reasonable American would ever vote for them. And they knew they could do that, and they tricked the Republicans into doing that. So no, the Democrats are not innocent. They're sneaky, and they don't care if they destroy the country so they can stay in power.
All right, music. How about music?
Music.
Music.
Yeah.
Waiting for the music. Oops.
Hey, Mark,
Hey there.
what's happening?
You tell me. Hey, they were talking earlier about the price of goods and everything like that, and the price of art. I remember Rick was talking about that. I saw that Tony Hawkins' skateboard went for like 1.5 million, his original skateboard or something like that. It just happened today. So
I
somebody
know.
got his original skateboard for some ridiculous amount of money.
So cool.
Yeah.
I sit alone in the daylight of night. I sit alone in the nighttime of day. Hallelujah. 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 Amen. I sit alone as I dream away. I sit alone as I wake in my dreams. Hallelujah, 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 amen. Amen, baby. Woo, stick around for thank you for the round of applause.
Yeah, the last one before we go to commercial and everything, correction, it was $1.15 million. And it was because that was the skateboard he used to land the first ever 900-degree aerial spin. So it wasn't 1.5, it was 1.15 million. And I want to know when we're going to get your guitar sold for $1.5 million and everything like that.
I hope. I can only hope. Hey, by the way, Mark, were you into skateboarding when you were growing up?
I was not into skateboarding. I played jacks. I did a couple of other things. Definitely played pickup baseball games. As a matter of fact, I'm following my Brewers right now to see if they can win the championship and everything. But I was not a skateboarder. We didn't have a lot of skating rinks in the rural town that I grew up in.
Oh, got it. I just for all the audience members, in the comments section, put down the first skateboard you had. Mine was the bonsai skateboard. That's going back in skateboard memory lane, if you will.
I think I did too. Is that the aluminum one with the kick?
Yeah, exactly. It's called the bonsai. It's a great skateboard.
We're going to go to commercial right now, and we'll do the last show and everything. We still got 125 people watching us on Twitter, and they haven't moved.
And hopefully, God willing, Cassidy will sing a song in the next episode, maybe. Okay.
Hopefully.
Bam. Hold on.
My name is Cassidy. And I'm not just a model, not just a pretty face. I also write music. And this is an original. trying to figure it out again. What went wrong? Is it left? Is it right? Should we put up a fight? Look at us, getting all twisted up, our opinions. What is wrong? It is right. And do we belong on the left or the right? Can we put up a fight? But I say beyond these facts, beyond these grand opinions, we're still human after all. So we may scream and fight, we may be on the left or right, but in the end we all belong, because we are human in the end. And somewhere up there, oh, these sides, they all bend. Oh, it's a universal creation. The stars made it so. It's all beyond these fact and fiction. Oh, human conditioning. Don't you see what I really mean? We're all one, da 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 da. 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 So you can change your mind, you can rearrange and bend time, but in the end, let's just laugh a little. And you can fight for your side, but just know these sides collide in the end. 'Cause we're all one. So while we're all out here debating, and while the whole world is creating its mess, let's have a little fun.
This is Naked at Night with Cassidy, Lance, JD, Scott. Do we need that? Mark, Rick.
Did you put that over there?
Surely.
Okay.
All right. So what that song prompts me to ask is, in the whole history of humanity, there have been about 110 billion humans ever on Earth over the 100,000 year span of humanity. And right now, about 8 billion of us are alive. But most of us will pass away, though as technology gets more powerful, maybe some of us won't. So the question is, what does the universe, what does existence want of us? If you believe in evolution, that it's semi-easy to say, well, nothing wants anything of us, but we come from 4 billion generations of creatures who've reproduced through coupling up. And so that we have a inbuilt want to couple up and reproduce. But is that it? Is that freaking everything? Is that anything?
All right. I assume I'm supposed to respond. So I believe in God, and so I think that our lives are meaningful and that that they're very important. And I don't think that we're just mixtures of electricity and elements. And I think that there's a great deal of meaning to what we do. And there was a Hindu holy man, and he said, look, supposing you were a writer, and inside your mind were 1,000 brilliant stories. wouldn't you want to write them down and see them performed on the stage and read in books? And so I think that there's a certain aesthetic purpose behind the acts of God in creating us and watching us pursue our lives. But I also think that we as humans perform a function that can't be pursued by any other spiritual entity. They say the difference between an angel and a human is that an angel can do the wrong, is that angels don't have any desires, but humans can do the wrong thing. Humans can act out the morality play where we do the right thing, we do the wrong thing. We are driven by our desires and our ability to control our desires. So life is infinitely meaningful to me, and I believe we are the mind of the universe. We are the soul of the universe. We're what makes the universe meaningful, because our actions carry with them moral importance, good and bad, and that these things are of great significance.
Cassidy.
I feel the same way. I feel like I'm a very God-centered person, and I just truly believe that, like, in the fabric of all of our existence, that we are all so deeply enthreaded and connected to each other as souls and spirits and humans. And I also agree that, like, every action that we take, it ripples into all of existence, and the way that we treat each other ripples into all of existence. And yeah, so
JD? Scott?
I'll go because I set up the question, but I didn't answer it. And
Okay.
a couple days ago was Yom Kippur, which is the Jewish Day of Atonement. And you're supposed to spend the day not eating and thinking about what a dick you were in various ways during the previous year, and then maybe try to make it right. And one way I've been a dick for years and years is to be lazy and fearful. So I've been writing a book for freaking 40 years. And this particular book in its current form for, I don't know, 5 or 6, 7 years. And I can't get my shit together to finish it. And I need to. Time ticks on. And if I want to make a change in the world, through creative effort, this has been my major creative effort over the past 8 years. And this show is kind of sucky. I mean, we try hard and we have good moments, but to put on a late night show, like a professional one, takes 200 people, Kimmel, Colbert, Fallon, hundreds of people. And we have, working on tonight's show, we have 6 people. And it's not enough. Plus, those late night hosts, or no matter what you think of their politics, and it's not really their politics. You have, when somebody commands as much attention as Trump does, and you pretty much have to joke about him. It doesn't mean that you're, woke. It means that one guy is commanding a lot of people's attention. But anyway, I feel like I've got stuff to atone for. But I do think the universe defines itself, that we're not the minds of the universe. The universe is its own mind. And I don't know how much the universe knows about us or cares. Somebody.
All right. Well, I mean, I think that because we inhabit the world, we are where the drama is. We're where good and bad is acted out. They say that in a way, God needs us. We are well aware that we need God, but I think God needs us, because as we go through our lives, we grow and learn and do cruelty to one another and save each other. And all of these things bring to fruition God's plan, God's aspirations. And we get closer to him, we become more enlightened, and we're the only things in the universe that we're aware of that can do this. Rocks can't do this. Animals don't have insects don't have a moral code. We're the only creatures that have free will and can grow, and everything else in the universe is dead.
So,
So as a result, our actions are very important. Now, that there may be extraterrestrial life.
there
That's
has to be.
yeah, okay. That's not my point. My point is that where there is life, there is beauty and meaning, and it's what makes our existence worthwhile. Because if we didn't have this, then you're right. We would just be lumps of clay, and we would mean nothing to the universe, and we would mean nothing ourselves, whether we did the right thing or wrong thing. When we were gone, it wouldn't matter.
Well, let's hear from Scott, because Scott has a humanist perspective.
Hello.
Hello, Scott.
I mean, from what I'm hearing, I see little distinction between metaphysics, theology, speculative philosophy, and just in terms of what are the priors, in terms of assumptions, and then the precision of the language used there. So, I mean, the humanist perspective, generally speaking, will work within what you can reasonably know, and with an exclusion to supernaturalistic explanation, although there's no reason to not sort of bring them under consideration for discussion. But in general, yeah, I mean, the universe appears to be, from all scientific evidence, neutral, and subjectivities evolve in the universe. So you have sort of an object universe, subjectivities coming out of that over an extended period of time, and then obviously we are building some of our own potentially with various forms of robotics and artificial intelligence. But those subjectivities have spectra of well-being, pleasure and pain, for instance, on a simplified metric. They have varying forms of information processing capabilities and consciousness and self-awareness, and abilities to communicate that experience too. Some people can't, for instance, like in locked-in syndrome. So within that object universe, you have subjectivities inextricably linked. So the boundaries and borders between those are quite porous, but enough to make a distinction. And even within that, though, you individually have a purpose in terms of what you make for yourself. But those have priors in terms of drives, motivations.
But what you're saying is that subjectivities, that is building your own set of values, right, is not bullshit. That you can build your own. You don't have to necessarily turn to God to provide values. You can build your own and define what's valuable within a human perspective. And I think that we can all agree that one of the ways to start, under whether you start with God or whether you start with subjectivities, is the golden rule, that you can build a lot from that, regardless of your spiritual stance.
Hey, Rick, just really quickly, and I think you've heard me say this on other shows as well, and I've definitely brought it up on my own personal shows, the Online Dinner Party and everything, which is every Wednesday and everything along those lines, is that if you look at religions and you look at religions around the world, I think even Scott has brought this up a couple of times before, most of them have the usual core principle: respect Mother Nature, respect your parents, and particularly those that brought you into the world and things along those lines. There are extremists in all religions, whether it's Islam, whether it's Christianity, whether it's Judaism, or a number of other things as well. And the other thing that I was just going to add really quickly is I heard Lancey use a term, and a lot of people use it often, which is God as a him. And I think that even our model, our lovely model, who's got some native part of her history and everything, will know that certain religions and certain cultures actually see God as a woman, as a her. And I think he also said that other spirits and other animals don't have a soul, but there are cultures that would disagree with you on that, including some on the African continent and some native ones as well, because there are even some cultures that would say that even living trees have spirits and souls along those lines. It might be
Cassidy?
Well, let me respond to that. I do think that creatures and nature has souls or spirits, but the morality play is carried out by humans, because animals are mostly doing what they do based on instinct and survival. So they don't make moral decisions. Insects don't make moral decisions the way humans do.
We haven't heard from Cassidy in a while.
Well, as far as animals, I really think that there's like all of life around us, and we're made of like living, breathing atoms and souls, and I believe that with animals and trees and life. There's things that operate with the same like nutrients, water, sunlight, energy that humans do. And so I feel like we all connect in certain ways. And with animals, I truly believe animals and even plants and things, I feel like there is a spirit, there's an essence, and animals especially, a soul to them, and there's a spirit, and I feel like we only know as much as we know. And I feel like there's probably a lot of scientific data run to get certain facts, but I feel like at the end of the day, we don't really know, because none of us actually have been an animal in this lifetime. So I feel like there's a lot more mystery to know, but I do believe that.
So I think there's another way to put the golden rule, which is respect the integrity of stuff. Don't tear up other people's shit for no reason. To provide the same sense of safety for other beings that you would wish would be provided for you.
Yeah, I really like that. All living beings, may all living beings be free and cared for. And I feel like when you give a care to another living being the same way you would to yourself or someone you love dearly, you feel that in your soul, because it's part of our soul makeup.
Hey, Lance, I got to tease you though. Would you say that about the animals that are preying on others? Because they might think that there is a moral play if there is for example, a jaguar going after one of the I'm trying to think of the goat-like critter that's in Africa, but you know the one I'm trying to think of, but it's like.
Well, interestingly, jaguars are the only animals that kill for sport. A jaguar will kill, or a panther, not a jaguar. A panther will kill because it just feels like it. It's maybe practicing or something evolutionarily. But the rest of the animals on the planet kill for food. And so what I'm saying is this: animals don't commit adultery. Animals don't necessarily steal things that they don't need. Animals don't vote. So you can't you can say that animals have a spirit or a soul. I believe that. And I even think they think a lot more than we realize. But you can't say that an animal has a tremendous amount of free will, where it says, I'm gonna let that little gazelle go free because it has beautiful eyes. The lion will say, I'm hungry and I need to eat it. So they're not advanced enough as creatures to make moral decisions and complicated, sophisticated choices that we do in civilization.
I have two ridiculous comments. One, what does this thing about panthers being the only animal that kills for pleasure say about your family, Lance? Because your dad created the pink panther. And two, nature is a motherfucker. And in this dumb book that I may or may not ever finish, in this future, animals are getting chipped and they become part of the kingdom where, a cougar can kill a gazelle, but because they're both chipped, they both have chips in their brain, the cougar is obligated to absorb the gazelle's life experience upon killing it, so that no animal's life experience is sent to oblivion.
Hey, Lance and Rick, I've got to teach y'all really quickly as well. Do we know for a fact that the queen bee always murders its subject after it mates? There may be a queen bee out there that lets the subject live afterwards, because we're not there, as Cassidy just said, in the hive. So we don't know what's going on in the hive. We know what we've told is going on in the hive.
I don't know. I know that.
Yeah, there's so many hives. How do we know that all the hives that's happening?
Yeah, praying mantises do that. And I don't know. I think it's up to the guy to duck out of there super fast.
Yeah, I mean, Mark, if the woman that you've just pleasured tries to bite your head off, that's a bad sign. Get out of the hive immediately.
Or else wear a tiny little motorcycle helmet so they can't bite through your neck.
Yeah,
I think it's music time. Are you making music time?
Before we get to music time, I have one quick question, because I said I was going to have it for Cassidy, and that was my non-political question, and we've been joking about religion and everything. I have some friends that, I think Lance got one too, I don't know about Rick, that have tattoos. I don't have any. My brother has some and everything. And what people always tell me about tattoos is, do women ever think that they will outgrow their tattoo? And as a young lady, is that something that ever concerns you? Because I have noticed the tattoos that you have and everything. And I was wondering, do you ever worry that at some point you may outgrow the tattoo and want to get rid of the tattoo?
I've outgrown them all. I haven't gotten a tattoo in 7 years. And I definitely have outgrown them all, but I still don't regret them. I still I've outgrown them and regrown them. I've liked them this year more than I liked them last year. So I don't regret them. They tell stories, and it's art. I feel like if you're an artist, I mean, some people, I've had a lot of friends get rid of some of theirs, but for mine, I'm just like, they're stories.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now music time.
Music.
Appreciate you.
Better give me a chance to get ready.
All right. Sorry, we switched out the amp.
Yeah, and I just want to say, if you make love to a woman and she tries to suck out all of your fluids or bite your head off, that is a red flag.
Definitely red flag.
For me, Mark, in terms of and Rick, in terms of spirituality, in terms of God, religious people are afraid of going to hell. Spiritual people have been there, and I'm very fucking spiritual. I came out to Hollywood in '99. with a suitcase in my hand and a cheap bottle of wine. I was sent by my spirit soul to live my dreams. Left behind my nightmares and a million haunted screams. Oh, and I'm still here, chasing the stars, blacking out in sketchy Hollywood bars. Oh, and I'm still here, a no name, plowing my way to the top in this damn nepotism game. I'm still standing in Hollywood, still standing in Hollywood. I live in my car, in my mind I travel far, with holes in my socks and boots, but a great guitar. I'm a tramp, I'm a vamp in films with angelic ways. I do what I want like a pirate most nights and days. Oh, and I'm still here, chasing the stars, blacking out in sketchy Hollywood bars. Oh, and I'm still here, a no name, plowing my way to the top in this damn nepotism game. I'm still standing in Hollywood. I'm still standing in Hollywood. Still standing since 1999, baby. We hope you enjoyed the episodes.
Hey, before we get out of here and everything, and I'm gonna bring up Scott as well. But before we get out of here, and I'm gonna call it a day because I got to get with Rick and do the news show in a few hours and everything. Hey, JD, how can folks get in touch with you if they want to hear your music? And the same for Cassidy and Scott. How can folks get in touch with you if they want to get in touch with you?
Okay, I'll go first. If they want to hear my music, they can go to JD Mata 13 on the IG, on the gram. I'm also on Facebook. Friend me on Facebook, JD Mata, and then just go to YouTube and just put JD Mata, and I got a ton of. I've been posting music videos since 2000. Well, no, I take that like 2004 when YouTube first came out.
Scott's muted, so unmute yourself, Scott. Tell us.
Can be reached at scott.jacobson2026@gmail.com. It's probably a safer bet. It can be seen some of my stuff at the Commem Project, Internet Digest, Humanist, and in-sitepublishing.com. A site spelled SIGHT. I tend to focus on long-form, evidence-based, expert-level interviews at a feature length, and I look forward to seeing your comments. Thank you.
And Cassidy, how can you be found?
Okay, and the best way to find me, and then my Spotify links are on there, is probably Instagram. It's Cassidy, CASSIDY .Schneider, SCHNEIDER_. Thank you.
No problem.
Oh, go ahead, Rick.
That's all right. It's okay.
But yeah, we see all your art, which is fantastic. High res versions. And I am at Dumbass Genius on Twitter. And that's pretty much the only place my family allowed. Well, all right. Dumbass Genius.
Also, I want to let everybody know, I have a YouTube series called Rock God. So go to YouTube, or I have it on Twitter. We're the first comedy series on X. So go to X, Rock God JD Mata, or go to YouTube, Rock God JD Mata. Very campy but very funny comedy series.
Mark, how do we find you?
Yeah, Mark.
Lee Entertainment 62 on Instagram. That's where I get most people to find me and everything like that. You can also find me at my cultural arts center that I work at, haytie.org. That's like the country, but with an Y in the middle. So HAYTI.org. And that's probably the best two places to find me.
And lastly, I never do this. It's like, this just dawned on me. You got to promote yourself. If you want me to come play, I tour a lot. And so if you want me to come play at a town near you, email me at jdmatafilms@gmail.com. jdmatafilms@gmail.com. All right. Bam.
You
That
also
was good.
music videos. So if you have your band needs a music video,
Yeah, if you're
he's done like 100.
yeah, I've done like hundreds of videos, and I own everything, the cameras and lights, and I can help you write the storyline as well. So
Sounds good. And on that note, we'll get a bam on out of here. But it just occurred to me that as long as we've been doing these shows, Rick, we've never promoted each other. So that's why I decided to do that. So let's get on out of here.
See you tomorrow.
bam.
Bam.